What is going on, YouTube people? Neo Cards and Comics here. Well, I don't know what's more surprising. The fact that HGA is still an operational grading company, or that someone actually wanted to buy it. Listen, I got this one so wrong. I predicted that they would go out at one of my biggest predictions this year is that we would lose one of the pop-up grading companies, and it just hasn't happened yet. I thought it would be HGA for sure. We're only grading a couple thousand cards a month, or a couple thousand cards, yeah, a couple thousand cards a month. But here we sit. Someone bought them. This is the second time they have now been sold. About a year or so ago, an investment group, Armstrong, I believe, that was like a water manufacturer or something, an environmental thing. I don't remember the details now. Bought them off the previous owner. And here we sit a year later, and they have been flipped again. For those that don't remember, or you might be newer to the old card grading scene, HGA was I talk about like peak pandemic nonsense, like where, pinpoints of, or points in time of like where things were really off the rails. I point to Star Stock a lot, like prices that stuff was selling for on Star Stock. Another one would probably be HGA. They were a pop-up grading company. They came out during the pandemic, basically to kind of suck up some of the demand with PSA and Beckett turnaround times being absolute garbage. And when HGA came out, that was actually, I think, I'd have to double check a calendar. I think that was when SGC was still pretty backed up. Because remember, for a long time, SGC had a major backlog. They weren't the lightning fast turnaround times like they are now. And HGA comes out onto the scene, and their whole thing was 20 days means 20 days or whatever it was. They were all about guaranteed turnaround times, and the way that they did that was actually, I've always given them credit for this. Their opening salvo marketing wise was genius. First company to use custom slabs, or custom labels rather. But then they did these limited queue drops where it was because they guaranteed turnaround time. They could only take so many cards in. And they would do these queues, and everyone would go to get in line for the queues. I remember like Dakota Sports Card Anonymous. That's kind of where he got his live streams kind of up and running, was around that, was doing the Friday night HGA drops, trying to get in them to send them cards. And it built a lot of kind of viral buzz about them. And then things started to go a little sideways. They wanted to run before they were even crawling. And they started to let up on that. It led to longer turnaround times. They got hammered, and then they got hit with a rash of high profile fake cards and autographs, like real base level stuff ending up in their slabs, and it kind of really threw them off the track. Then the current owner got himself in a little bit of trouble with some off the court nonsense that we won't get into here. That was a bad look, on top of all this other shenanigans that they just could not get out of their own way. Like I said, they kind of started a little strong. They were very popular, and then very quickly they just bit off. Classic case of biting off more than you can chew. They sold off to this investment firm, basically bought them out, and now this investment firm looks like they are flipping them. No details yet. I am not familiar with these two people that have bought them, this Josh Smith and Trevor Jones. They're going to co-CEO it, and they do note on their little press release here that they are going to hire someone to run the ship, someone from the industry. So we will see where they go off of there. They had some innovative designs. The custom label thing, they were first to market with that. Some of them look cool. Some of them look really bad. It just kind of depends. And they were the first ones to do the whole horizontal slab thing, which I'm surprised no one else has kind of jumped on that. You think someone would come along and steal that one? I've never had an HGA slab. I've held them before. I've never had one in my possession. I've never owned one. But the idea of the horizontal slab, I am intrigued by that. Like from a PC perspective, there are cards that would look better in that horizontal slab. Now they fit for crap in your Zion case or whatever, but from a display purpose, kind of like a booklet almost. People don't like booklets for that very reason. But they had that going for them. But like I said, they just they claimed that they were using AI, and then they did that. One of my favorite moments ever in live streaming history was live streaming the reaction to the HGA AI reveal with the poor lady behind the desk trying to explain what exactly was going on over there and using like photomorphic shenanigans. I don't even know. I can't even remember the stuff that they were tossing out there. And I remember Dakota jumping on and us watching it together, and it was just pure comedy gold. But that was like their other big thing was their claim to be using AI when in reality they were just using a high res scanner and looking at it underneath, an insane scan image, and that was pretty much about it. So rocky road for them. I'm interested to see where this goes from here. Can they resurrect this company and bring it back to it never really had a glory? Maybe very, very early on. Like I said, some of the ideas were really good, but history in the hobby, like sometimes we have really short memories on stuff and we forget. But for whatever reason, they have not been able to shake those mistakes. I think for a grading company, for an individual, we almost forgive an individual that's done something wrong way easier than we forgive like a grading company, especially HGA. Like I said, they had a lot of high profile incidents, and they've been relatively clean for the last year. To the best of my knowledge, I haven't seen anything pop up, and I haven't seen anyone like send anything my way regarding them since Armstrong fully took over. But they just don't get a ton of cards. Like I said, I've been tracking, or Gemrate rather has been giving me the information to track on the HGA monthly grading numbers. And I think like last month, without looking, it was like 2,000 or a little over, maybe closer to 3,000. This month, I think, was around 2,000. And in the past, and I forget the name of the channel, I'm blanking on it at the moment, and I'm very sorry about that. There was a smaller channel that used to track all the off the books grading companies. And I remember I would check in on his little spreadsheet that he would post every once in a while. And they were always consistently doing like around 2,000 to 3,000 cards, I feel like. Which doesn't seem like a lot, but it also shines a little light on like, now I don't have their books in front of me. Like, I don't know if that's profitable or not, but they've been around this long grading that number of cards. I don't know what their overhead looks like, and someone was willing to invest into them. I just find it interesting that grading that few of cards, that I mean, you assume there's got to be something there. So it's kind of like, even for these little guys, this must be a very, very profitable endeavor. Now imagine what some of these bigger companies must rake in on a monthly basis. Now, obviously, like PSA has a massive overhead, but like an SGC, they just have one building, or like a CGC or a Beckett even. That's one of, we always criticize Beckett for not going crazy and expanding rapidly, but my theory has always been maybe they're content making the probably very good profit that they are raking in without spending much additional money on the business. That's kind of the unknown factor here, because we don't really know how good or bad these companies are doing from a financial perspective. But the news is HGA has sold. We'll see if they kind of roll out anything on them. I'm not probably going to do a ton of other HGA videos. If anything crazy happens over the next month, if it's super crazy, we'll cover it. But otherwise, we'll probably save HGA updates for when we do the monthly gem rate numbers on the emergent grading companies. That's all I got for you, boys and girls. If you've used HGA like recently, let me know your experience in the comments down below. I'd be kind of curious. So catch you on the next one. Have a good weekend. Peace.